Good afternoon, my name is Oleh and I want to thank everybody who joins us in Ukraine Media Center Ukraine Forum. It's been 9 years of the war and today is day 401 of the full-scale invasion of our homeland by Russian aggressor. And I want to thank the representatives of all the mass media who tell the world the truth about the war and our heroic resistance. Now I want to introduce to you our speaker today. It's Oleh Korikov, the acting chairman of the State Nuclear Regulatory Inspectorate, Chief State Inspector for Nuclear and Radiation Safety of Ukraine. Good afternoon, Mr. Oleh. Good afternoon. Glory to Ukraine. Glory to the heroes. Mr. Oleh, let's start a conversation with the visit of the Director General Rafael Grossi, Director General of IAEA, of Rafael Grossi. He visited Zaporizhia NPP, what it means for the nuclear power plant and the security situation. What's going on there? Thank you for your question. This week there was a visit by the Director General of IAEA, Rafael Grossi. He had a meeting with the President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, and also there was a visit of Rafael Grossi to the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant to ensure the rotation of personnel of the permanent mission of IAEA. Well, the main reasons for the visit, so to say, and the attention of the head of IAEA is the degradation of security in Zaporizhia nuclear power plant. Security and safety. The main reasons are the personnel. Due to the pressure on the personnel by the Russian occupiers, our Ukrainian personnel refuses to cooperate with the occupiers, and the licensed Ukrainian personnel is missing in the station. The occupiers try to bring more people whom they pull away from different construction sites of nuclear power plants in China and Belarus. However, they still cannot ensure 100% safety and security in the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant. The Russians, they impede the access of the qualified Ukrainian personnel who possess relevant experience and skills for operation of the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant. So we classify those actions of occupiers as inadequate. They also conduct the modifications of the nuclear power plant without any coordination with the State Nuclear Regulatory Inspectorate of Ukraine. They make the modification of the power supply system, the heat supply system. The modifications are illegal. There are also illegal modifications of the storage of the processed nuclear fuel in the area of the diesel, where diesel generators are located. Also, there is no emergency reaction system activated in the nuclear power plant. All 6 blocks should be ready for emergency. It's not being ensured because the crisis center at the nuclear power plant was transformed into a bulletin facility for the Russian occupiers, so they cannot ensure any security in case of emergency. The external crisis center, which is located in Zaporizhia, in the territory under control of the Ukrainian government, they don't receive relevant signals from the systems from the security and safety systems of the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant that can be activated in case of emergency. And third, the emergency team of the State Emergency Service of Ukraine, which is supposed to support and ensure the safety in Zaporizhia nuclear power plant in case of emergency due to the terror by the Russian occupiers, is not in fact operating. So there is a loss of emergency readiness. Another important component is that we lost the reliable source of electric power supply. As we know, any nuclear power plant should be steadily supplied with the electric power which is necessary for the safety and security systems. They should be operating 24/7 for proper operation of the nuclear power plant. We don't have more than one line of electric power supply. We don't have a reserve line operating so far. So this is the condition of the security in the nuclear power plant, which is of great concern to IAEA. And another reason for the visit of Rafael Grossi was due to the delayed rotation of the previous team of IAEA experts, because occupiers impeded. Well, the rotation eventually happened with the 1-month delay, and only thanks to the support of the chair of IAEA, Rafael Grossi. So it was him now who ensured the proper rotation of personnel in Zaporizhia nuclear power plant. We are as Ukraine, we are very interested in having the mission of IAEA continue in Zaporizhia nuclear power plant, because first of all, the mission of IAEA arrived upon invitation of Ukraine. As the Ukrainian party, we are the legal operating organization of the nuclear power plant, and we receive all the data about the condition of the systems operating under control of the personnel of IAEA in Zaporizhia nuclear power plant. And it's very important that IAEA staying at Zaporizhia nuclear power plant, they do it based on the conditions of Ukraine, which is open and transparent in terms of operation, in terms of safe operation of the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant. It creates certain pressure on the occupiers who are not used to work under conditions of permanent monitoring. It creates pressure on the occupiers who captured the nuclear power plant using weapons and who hold it illegally, basically. Well, Ukraine is interested in having the IAEA mission continue their work in nuclear power plant until the very moment of return of the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant under control of Ukraine. For the time being, in Vienna, Austria, there is a meeting by the countries who are parties to the Convention of the Nuclear Safety. Ukraine ratified the convention in 1997. The convention unites 97 countries, and all the interested countries of the world are concerned by the risks and threats that result from the occupation of the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant by Russians. They supported, all of the members of the convention supported Ukraine unilaterally in the opinion that the only way to ensure safety and security at Zaporizhia nuclear power plant is to have it returned under full control of Ukrainian government with relevant deoccupation and demilitarization of Zaporizhia nuclear power plant. So there is a unilateral consensus by the world leaders of the civilized countries as to the As to the resolutions, were there any resolutions taken upon the visit of Rafael Grossi to Zaporizhia nuclear power plant? Thank you for the question. As I mentioned, Director General of IAEA, Rafael Grossi, he is convinced that the mission should continue operating. It works in the best interest of Ukraine and in the best interest of international community. This is our joint asset, so to say, and the mission will continue working just as long as it is necessary to return the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant under the control of Ukraine. This is the main thing about it. Thank you very much, and I want to let the journalists on the floor ask their questions. Yana Kloda, Ukrinform, my question to you is as follows. What is the progress with imposition of sanctions against nuclear sector of the Russian Federation? Are there supposed to be any changes upon visit of Rafael Grossi to Zaporizhia nuclear power plant? Thank you for your question. As to the sanctions, we submitted our relevant proposals. They are about economic isolation of the nuclear facilities of Russian Federation, which take part in the attempts of appropriation of Zaporizhia nuclear power plant. It's like Rosatom and the affiliated companies. Further on, we cooperate with the countries of Europe which operate the reactors of VVR model, and due to the change of the supplier of the nuclear fuel, we switched from Russian supplier which is inefficient, we switched to a friendly supplier, the Westinghouse company, who manufactures nuclear fuel, or another manufacturer which should be created. So those are the main areas of our cooperation with the partners as to the isolation of Russian Federation and its nuclear industry. Thank you. And regarding the nuclear fuel, what are the prospects of Ukraine in manufacturing our own nuclear fuel? Are we going to be able to cover our needs with that production? And in that context, can we start talking about export of nuclear fuel? Thank you. Thank you for your question. As we know, for the time being, Ukraine has manufacturing of some elements of nuclear fuel. We're talking about the facilities located in Ukraine, in the manufacturing capacities of State Nuclear Regulatory Inspectorate. The operating organization is in negotiations, in joint negotiations with the Ministry of Energy, who take the leading position in this matter. And this question is more in the competence of Ministry of Energy. Thank you very much. Another question: is there any progress in negotiations regarding deprivation of Russia of their membership in IAEA? Thank you for this question. It's a very important topic, and we submitted our proposals, and together with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, to IAEA as to termination of rights and privileges of Russian Federation in this organization. Unfortunately, for the time being, consensus has not been reached in this resolution. However, there were relevant decisions of the board which were in support of this idea. And first of all, they were regarding the liberation of Zaporizhia nuclear power plant. I think that the international consensus will be reinforced, and we will eventually reach the resolution on termination on the rights of privileges of Russian Federation in IAEA. Thank you very much. We have more questions on the floor.
Good morning, sir. Thank you for your kind attention. My name is Lorenzo Cremonesi from the Italian daily Corriere della Sera from Milano. Sir, it's about now a year that we hear about the danger of nuclear disaster, of nuclear incident, accident, and of course all your attention on this issue, Ukrainian attention. But can I ask you something more general? First, do you think the Russians are working to have a nuclear accident in that area? I mean, do you see a policy by Moscow, by Russian authority to have an accident? And secondly, if this is the case, why? I mean, they want to occupy this territory. They have their own soldier. They consider the people who are living in the area their own people, part of the Ruski Mir. So why the Russian would like to have an area which they want to occupy, where they want to stay, which will be, if really an accident happen, it will be impossible to stay. It will be a danger for everybody, for Ukrainian and for Russian. So what is the logic of all this? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. It's a very interesting context, really. I would reply in a following way. As a chair of the State Nuclear Regulatory Inspectorate, I'm being guided in my activities and statements by the regulations on nuclear safety and the law of Ukraine. So for the time being, the presence of the occupiers and their capturing of nuclear power plant poses a threat to many principles of nuclear safety and security. Just for general understanding, the fundamental principles of physical security of nuclear power plant and the sources of ionizing radiation was violated. So there is a system of physical protection and physical security which operates to ensure that only the qualified personnel have access to the nuclear power plant for its safe and secure operation. Currently, this system is completely destroyed. The occupiers have control over the access, and not only the qualified personnel who contributes to the safety and security of the nuclear power plant, but anybody whom the occupiers need, they all have access, and they have other goals than safe operation of nuclear power plant. We have evidences that the nuclear power plant was turned into a military facility, military base, military and repair facilities. So they have completely different goals, which pose serious threat for not only Ukraine but also for the neighboring countries. As to the logic which can be seen in those activities of the occupiers, well, it's not my business. I just openly try to explain you what is the threat, and the threat is at the level of violation of basic, of fundamental principles of safe operation. And everybody who is interested in their personal safety and security should be interested in this. And the sooner the occupiers leave the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant, the sooner we will be able to reestablish safety and security and reduce the risks and threats that the world in general is facing now, because the risks of emergency situation significantly increased. and the opportunities to react to them or to mitigate them, to mitigate the consequences of such possible threat, reduce significantly.
I have another question for you. We heard different figures about the personnel, the technician, the worker who are there, the numbers. Can you tell us, do you have an idea now, today, the number of technicians who are still the original Ukrainians staying there? How many are they at the moment? If you can tell us who are they, engineer, normal worker. We don't know, because we heard there were 10,000, before there were 11,000, then I heard about 5,000, 7,000, now we heard also 3,500. Do you have an exact number of the Ukrainians who are still there? And about the Russian, how many, I'm talking about technician now, not the army soldier. Do you know if there is an engineer there, anybody of the Russian, what is his name, Rosatom, working there in a permanent base? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Generally, before the occupation, before the beginning of the full-scale invasion, we had around 11,000 people working in Zaporizhia nuclear power plant. From the point of view of State Nuclear Regulatory Inspectorate, the main part of the personnel were the officials who were exercising the administrative functions, and the management personnel who were properly qualified and licensed for operation in the nuclear power plant. And there is also licensed personnel which directly operates the nuclear reactor, which are properly licensed by the State Nuclear Regulatory Inspectorate. So I can say that there are no more representatives of the high-level management, the specialists who can approve any resolutions on the safe and secure operation of the nuclear power plant. They all left. The occupiers, they impede their access, for example, for the chief engineer of the nuclear power plant, for the Director General. They cannot currently get to the facilities of the nuclear power plant. It's a serious violation of the requirements of the nuclear safety and security. And as to the personnel which directly operates the nuclear reactor, such personnel still remains in the nuclear power plant. However, their number is insufficient for proper operation of the nuclear reactor and adjacent facilities. I'm reminding you that all the 6 blocks are currently stopped. Its operation is suspended. Their operation is suspended, so the remaining personnel is only sufficient to maintain the operation at existing level. As to the Russian personnel, I'm honestly not interested about their number, because their presence is illegal, and the law enforcement agencies of Ukraine, they identify all the Russian personnel present here, and everybody who shows up there, they will be brought to liability as persons who were contributing to the attempts of appropriation of the nuclear power plant, which belongs to Ukraine. As to the Ukrainian personnel who currently exercise their duties there, the exact numbers can be provided by the operating organization, but it's up to 2,000 people. You can get more details from the operating organization once again. Thank you. We have more questions on the floor.
My name is Hiro Watanabe from Sankei Shimbun, Japanese newspaper. Regarding the question Italian reporter gentleman asked, what about the condition of Ukraine expert personnel still working in power plant? And the second question is regarding emergency. What kind of at the moment, what is the worst case scenario you are concerned with, and what about the readiness to deal with such a situation? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your question. Well, in fact, we really, with the support of our European partners, as a group of regulatory nuclear regulators of the countries of European Union, which is the advisory agency in European Commission, and in cooperation with the Western European Association of the Nuclear Regulatory Authorities, and with the application of relevant software, we received also with the Nuclear Regulatory Commission of the United States, we try to model possible emergency situations, the emergencies that are being analyzed. We analyze the influence of such events on the environment and on population. The most serious, so to say, emergencies may be an emergency with the damage of the active zone and the leakage of nuclear agents outside the nuclear reactor, and this event may result in emission of radiation into the atmosphere of up to 10 in 19th grade becquerels, and the zone and the zone of damage may be in radius of 40 kilometers, which is a low probability event, but in view of the occupier's presence in the nuclear power plant and violation of the nuclear safety and security, the probability of such event may increase with time. Thank you for your question. Thank you, Mr. Oleh, for joining our broadcast. Thank you for answering our questions. I'm reminding you, dear colleagues, joining us was Oleh Korikov, and we continue working together for our victory, trust in our armed forces, and glory to Ukraine. Bear with us.